None of us will take your what would be order. So we followed my presentation of our next relieved items, and you will also have the chance to meet monthly heroes with our scratch card.
Dzień dobry, Kaja, Bryx, Racjonalista.tv. Jest ze mną dzisiaj Ramon Casha, przewodniczący Towarzystwa Maltańskich Humanistów. Hello, Ramon, how are you?
Hello, Kaja. I'm fine.
Thank you very much for agreeing to do the interview. We are very much interested in the situation of humanists in Malta. Can you please tell us a little bit more about your association first?
Certainly. We have been set up now for 5 years, and we're a relatively small organization, but we have been quite active in the short time that we have been around. We have introduced ethics education in schools, which until recently did not exist. Every school taught Catholic religion or Muslim religion, and now we have introduced ethics for those students who do not wish to choose this. We have been active with other organizations that are older than us in promoting LGBT rights, and we have had very good success in this area. We are currently working on an Equality Act, which covers many other areas to guarantee equal treatment. We're considering repealing the Local Blasphemy Act. We've introduced humanist weddings and funerals, and we're discussing with the government to have them recognized by the state. So we've been quite active.
And how big is your association?
We have around 1,400 members.
Oh, that's a lot.
I wish we were more active as a community with the members. So far, many of our events are in the form of talks promoting science and so on. But we're now going to start focusing a bit more on creating more of a community between people.
And what do you think are your biggest challenges right now in Malta?
I think that one of the areas which is very difficult for many people to accept is the issue of abortion. That's I think the biggest hurdle. People who have been to Maltese schools, they have all been exposed to one view, which is pregnancy always happens at the end of abortion always happens at the end of the pregnancy, and things like this. But the discussions are beginning on the subject, and people are beginning to realize that it's not quite like that. And maybe in the near future we will also start to consider the possibility of assisted dying. Again, that's also in the future, but we are also promoting discussion in this area.
Right now in Malta, abortion is completely illegal, even in case the life of the mother is in danger?
Yes, the law does not make any exceptions at all. In practice, if there is a woman who is in danger, they will do whatever is necessary to save her life, but the law technically does not allow that.
Could the doctors then face some legal charges if they have actually done the abortion?
Legally they could. So far it has never happened. And I know of at least one case where someone tried to file a criminal report against a doctor in such a situation, but the police refused to prosecute. So everyone seems to agree that the law is not really reasonable. And they do in practice do what is necessary, but the law needs to be changed to reflect this.
Well, Malta and Poland share the same issue with Catholicism being very, very important part of the social life. But we find it curious that it was so easy, relatively easy for you to fight for LGBT rights and not for abortion? Because I think for Poland, that's a little bit the other way around.
Okay. In Malta, what happened is that there have been a number of gay rights organizations which existed before we did. And they have been here for, I think, at least 20 years. So they have been fighting for a very long time to introduce LGBT rights. And as yet, there is no organization for which is pro-choice in Malta, no official pro-choice organization. So that will be one of the first steps, to have a feminist organization that promotes women's rights. So apart from having the gay rights movements who were pushing and lobbying for these rights for a long time, there was a change in government. Previously, there was a much more conservative prime minister and government. And I don't know if you heard about it, but Malta only introduced divorce in 2013. So, yeah, it was that backwards. But what happened is there was a referendum which was forced by one of the government MPs. And in the referendum, despite the church mounting a really big campaign against it, the referendum passed. And I think this shocked the church, because they thought that since something like 90% of the Maltese people say that they are Catholic, they assumed that 90% would vote against it. But in fact, people say they're Catholic, but they also are quite pragmatic. They will think and say, listen, I agree on this, I do not agree on that. And when it came to divorce, the majority voted to introduce divorce. The government, which was the conservative government, still decided to vote against it. And what happened is that a short time later, there was a referendum, and they lost very heavily, because people felt that, once the referendum has been done, then the government should not have voted against it. So what happened is that the person who was the prime minister then resigned from leader of the party, and the new person who came in later, and as well as the other people from the party, realized that they had become so conservative that they had lost the support of many of the Maltese people. So they started working to address this and to be less conservative. And so what's been happening now is that there is a new government, which is a center-left government, and which is much more liberal and progressive. And the opposition now is much more willing to work with the government, and where the civil rights are concerned, there have very rarely been any opposition to the introduction of these civil rights.
Well, that's great. So congratulations actually for all these changes that have been going recently. But as you are saying, these were not really fast changes then, because the associations for gay laws, they actually fought for them for a long time. How was it with the divorce? Was it in agenda of other NGOs for a long time, or was it a sudden change?
No, divorce was a sudden change. The change was rapid, because although the LGBT organizations had been fighting for a long time, but no progress was really being made. So when there was a change in government, all of a sudden they found that the new government was much more receptive, and they already had, ideas about what they wanted, what laws they wanted to introduce. So the government was receptive to the idea. The opposition had no objection. So these laws were introduced quite rapidly. For divorce, it was something of a surprise. The opposition then, which is the government now, had mentioned it as one of the things that they would like to introduce. But it was one of the government MPs then who went against the party line, so to speak, and introduced the bill himself. And so then, since the government had a one-seat majority, there was this one government MP plus the opposition, and the referendum was done.
So about the women's rights, there are no feminist organizations in Malta at all, or do they not focus on abortion?
There are a number of organizations that focus on things like gender pay equality in the workplace, and gender equality in boards and so on. There is no organization that is actively fighting for the introduction of abortion. There are a number of individuals, and I happen to be one of them, but no organized association as such.
And how big influences does Catholic Church really have in Malta? Because people are pragmatic, which is good. It's similar to what we have in Poland, that many Catholics still have liberal views on how the life should look like of a regular person. But can actually the Church impose the rights here? You mentioned that there are Catholic religion classes in schools, yes, and the ethics is just an alternative introduced recently, yes, right?
Yes. In Malta, the Catholic Church, the Constitution says that the Catholic religion is the official religion of Malta. So it's taught in all state schools. It is taught by the church schools, and it is taught by the private schools. There is one school, which is the Muslim school, which is different. And I think that the American Embassy has a school for its own staff, which focuses more on, American history, American culture, and so on. But everywhere else, there is no secular school with no religion in it in Malta. So the church does have that effect, that influence. For example, as I mentioned, one of the reasons why abortion is so difficult to talk about is that everybody who has gone to any school in Malta has only received the church teaching about abortion and never been exposed to any other views, which hopefully will start to change nowadays. But of course it influences lots of people, and many people even in the younger age bracket are against abortion. There was a poll recently by a newspaper about abortion in the case of rape, and around 30% of all age groups were in favor of allowing it. But the group which was most in favor was the group, I think it was between age 30 and age 45. The younger generation were actually more opposed to it because they had come out of the school system and they were still heavily influenced by these ideas.
Well, we have the same problem, that our young people are very conservative, and I think this is due to religion classes at schools. Exactly, that's the same issue. So do you find it difficult to be an atheist in Malta?
No, I don't think so. Not so much. We did have an atheist prime minister some years ago. He never actually declared, that he was an atheist, but he was the only politician I know of who did not take the oath on the Bible and, kiss the cross and the usual stuff. But certainly there are lots more people who are very secular, and some who are openly atheist. The divorce referendum created a debate in which more and more people started finding the courage to challenge the church teachings, which until then were almost unassailable. So I think that was the watershed moment, the divorce referendum and the debate that it created in society. That was the big change.
And are the atheists threatened by the blasphemy law here? What does it exactly say?
There is a blasphemy law. Currently, there is a debate about the possibility of repealing it. There is a 6-month possible jail term for anyone who vilifies the Catholic religion, and a slightly shorter term for other religions. I don't know of anyone who has actually been sent to jail over this. But there have been people arrested and charged. One of them was for writing an article in a student magazine, and the article contained some blasphemy in the form of speech by one of the characters. Prior to that, there have been plays which were either banned or the directors were facing trouble because the play contains something that could be considered blasphemous and so on.
So do you actually have any newspapers or books or blogs which express atheism, which express that there is no God, etc.? Or is it not safe to do that here?
No, it's entirely safe. There's no problem in saying that there is no God in expressing that view. I myself write on on the biggest Maltese newspaper occasionally, and I'm not the only one who espouses an atheistic view. And this is considered to be a fairly conservative newspaper, but they're also open to different ideas. So there is no problem in that. I've been on TV, and so have others of my friends. Merely saying that you're an atheist is not a problem. It's more a matter of saying something that one might consider insulting towards a particular religion, like I don't know, criticizing something of the character of Jesus, for example, might be considered blasphemous.
So the mere existence of atheists is not a problem?
No, it's not anymore.
Okay, one last question. So some of the changes have happened fast, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think this kind of changes can last? Because we've seen, for example, in Spain, that the liberal government introduced certain liberal laws which have now been questioned. So do you think that fast changes of the views of people in general are possible and they can last?
I think that in many cases, the general population was more liberal than the politicians. I mean, this was made clear in the divorce referendum, where previously not a single politician was speaking in favor of divorce. But when the referendum was done, more than half of the population said yes. So the population was more ready to be liberal, to be progressive, than the politicians who were in parliament. It is possible that if there is a change to a more conservative government, that some of the laws might be changed. But so far, for most of the laws, there has been agreement. The opposition did not have any real objections. The main exception was when the government introduced adoption by same-sex couples. And to that one, the opposition did not agree, but they agreed with civil unions, which are identical to marriage. They agreed with the Gender Identity Act. They even have elected politicians who are transgender and so on. So the line of thought of the party is no longer as conservative as it used to be. So I don't imagine that there will be any major backtracking on such laws.
Well, that's great, and we wish you further good luck with all your actions. It's really a great example for us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.